32 years ago, tomorrow, the world came that close to being wiped out. And it's all thanks to one man, we are all here. And almost no one knows what his name is. And I intend to set that right. Because we've heard of Mandela, and we've heard of Gandhi, Nightingale and Fleming, and others of fame. But today I will tell you of another hero, as not enough people have heard of his name. And I'm naming that name as Stanislav Petrov, and this story, I tell you, it is not in jest. And regardless of what you think of this poem, of his actions, I beg you, be very impressed. 26th of September 1983, in a cold Russian autumn of a very cold war, President Andropov lay in the Kremlin hospital, senile and paranoid and close to death's door. His fear in the White House that President Reagan was planning to nuke them caused him to perspire. In his mind he had reason for his fictitious thinking, as Reagan had called them an evil empire. His government had spent innumerable rubles on a satellite system trained on the US that could detect the launch of their incoming missiles, give them final warning, a sign of distress. 26th of September 1983, in that cold Russian autumn of a very cold war, a standing soldier, Stanislav Petrov, entered his bunker and then closed the door. He was covering a shift for an indisposed colleague. His task, it was simple, from the KGB thus: keep your eyes trained on all of your systems, and if the missiles are launching, report it to us. And so he sat down and began his duty. A hard-working, diligent soldier was he, but all it was quiet, and all it was normal, and all it was peaceful. There was nothing to see. Alarms started flashing, the sirens were crashing, the atmosphere piercing. He looked up in fright, had a message to launch retaliatory action from an imminent incoming American strike. He looked at his computers and all of his systems. His head, it was frying from his brain, the sweat poured. But no real evidence of ballistic bombardment. He reset the system, and peace was restored. He barely had time to reset the system when he pressed the button. It happened again. Alarms started flashing, the sirens were crashing, proclaiming of peacetime. There had been a loss, but still no real signs of a US invasion. He reset the system and informed his boss. He hadn't even had time to hang up the phone when the system in panic fired off once again. His boss down the line heard all the commotion, was forced to tell Andropov and all of his men that the message that now met down on his system was even more terrible than what went before, that the American missiles were well on their way to blow Mother Russia right into the floor. Now, Stan was in the hot seat, and it was Stan's call. If he'd got it wrong, it would mean disaster for all, because if he'd got it wrong, we'd all be dead as mutton. If he'd said launch, Andropov would have pressed the button. And millions of megatons of nuclear warheads would come rushing from Russia to the rest of the world, each and every nation doused in radiation, complete destruction completely unfurled. Each nation wiped out by terrible fallout. Destruction, deformity, disease and death. Apocalypse, how? Apocalypse now. No chance to hold out or draw another breath. But Stan is a man of steel and precision. When he makes a decision, he sticks to his guns. That's why we are here on this day of this year. Thanks to him, Andropov did not launch any bombs. So, did they hail him a hero, proclaim him a saviour for saving humanity from a death worse than death? No. He was summoned by his boss to explain his actions, not promoted or doted with standing in large. From his boss who commanded, he was reprimanded, sent on his way, and eventually discharged. In stopping the missiles, he uncovered a flaw in the Soviet military might, and to make matters worse, that terrible flaw was in the Soviet satellite. And in overriding all of those warnings, which incidentally numbered 5 and not 3, he uncovered a flaw so terrible the world was not allowed to see. For it was all just the haze of the sun's UV rays that had fooled the Soviet satellite, and that close Armageddon that would have left us all dead was all just a trick of the light. But he still lives today in the east, far away, in a flat on a tower block site. No garden nor flower for the man of the hour who was dumped on from such a great height. But he's why we are here on this day of this year, all part of humanity's clan, and we needn't mourn those who were never born, all thanks to the man I call Stan. So we've heard of Mandela, and we've heard of Gandhi, and so many others who rightly stand tall. And to that list, I am adding Stanislav Petrov, the man who did save us all. Thank you.